Good afternoon, Professor Brasser. Today I will be presenting my capstone project titled Emotional Regulation in Children with Autism Spectrum Disorders, a Behavior Analytics Perspective. These projects examine emotional regulation challenges in these children and explore how applied behavior analysis provide a structured, evidence-based interventions to improve out- emotional outcomes and quality of life for these kids. Here I will begin with the introduction of the project. Autism spectrum disorder is a neurodevelopmental condition characterized by persistent deficits in social communication and the presence of restricted and repetitive behaviors. In addition to these core diagnosis features, many children with ASD experience significant difficulties with emotional regulations. This challenge often impacts learning, peer relationships, and daily functioning. Emotional dysregulation is not simply a secondary issue. It is a central developmental concern that affects overall adaptive functioning. What is emotional regulation? Emotional regulation refers to the ability to monitor, evaluate, and modify emotional responses in order to adapt to environmental demands and achieve goals. When children struggle with emotional regulation, they may experience intense emotional reactions, prolonged distress, and difficulty returning to a calm state. This challenge can interfere with academic performance, family interactions, and even social participation in games with peers and everything related to daily living skills. Emotional regulation challenges that these kids may experience. Here are common challenges that kids with ACD experience. Research indicates that these kids experience higher rates of emotional dysregulation comparing to typically developing peers. Common behaviors may include tantrums, aggression, self-injuries, and emotional withdrawal. These behaviors often serve as specific function, escaping demands or gaining attention. Lauren and Gorman in 2018 also highlight the significant stress emotional dysregulation places on families. Without targeted intervention provided by ABA, these patterns can persist and negatively affect a long-term development in these kids. Communication deficits play a major role in emotional dysregulation. When children cannot express correctly frustration, request help, or label emotions, frustrations increases. Noel emphasized that social communication difficulties are closely linked to self-regulation challenges. Sensory processing differences also contribute. Dean and colleagues found correlations between neurological characteristics and emotion regulation ability in children at high rates for ACD. Children who are hypersensitive to sensory input may experience emotional escalation more quickly in overstimulating environments. Impact on learning and social functioning. Emotional regulation directly affects classroom learning. I see this every day with my kids. Children may engage in escape maintaining behaviors that reduce instructional time. Peer relationships may also suffer as difficulty interpreting social cues can lead to isolation. Over time, this challenge can impact independence and overall adaptive functioning. A behavior analytic framework. From a behavior analytic perspective, emotional responses are viewed as learning behaviors maintained by environmental contingencies. Instead of focusing solely on internal emotional states, behavior analysis examines observable actions and their reinforcement history. If tantrum results in escaping a difficult task, that behavior is reinforced. Understanding this relationship allows clinicians to design more effective interventions. The functional behavior assessment is an essential tool in this process. FBA identify antecedents, behaviors, and consequences to determine the function of emotional behavior. Functions may include escape, attention, or sensory reinforcement. This assessment ensures intervention address the root cause of the behavior rather than only the surface symptoms. Functional communication training teaches children to replace maladaptive behaviors with appropriate communication responses. For example, instead of screaming to escape a task, a child may learn to say, "A break please," use break card, or press a communication device button. Research by Thompson and colleagues in 2015 supports the effectiveness of functional communication training in reducing emotional dysregulation. By teaching children how to appropriately request assistance or express discomfort, we reduce the frustration and improve independence. The differential reinforcement strengthens appropriate emotional responses while reducing maladaptive ones. Instead of pushing problem behavior, clinicians often reinforce calm behaviors, coping strategies, or appropriate requests. This may involve reinforcing a child for taking deep breaths, wanting calmly, waiting calmly, or asking for help. Sherman and colleagues in 2021 emphasized that reinforcement-based strategies align with ethical autism intervention practices. Antecedent-based strategies modify environmental triggers before emotional escalation occurs. Example: visuals, schedules, structures, routines, and sensory supports help these kids to know what is going to happen next. In that way, we as therapists prevent the escalation before it happens. By increasing predictability and reducing overstimulation, emotional outbursts can often be prevented. Odeim, Assand, and colleagues in 2025 highlight the importance of the environmental consideration in supporting emotional health. Generalization and future directions. Emotional regulation skills must transfer across settings: home, school, and community. Generalization is critical for meaningful long-term change. Caregivers play a major role in this process. Goldsbrook and colleagues in 2010 demonstrate the importance of co-regulation between parents and children. When caregivers reinforce communication strategies and model calm behavior, children are most likely to maintain progress. Implications on future research. Behavior analytic interventions significantly improve emotional outcomes. However, more longitudinal research is needed. Noel, in 2018, emphasized the need for extended studies to understand long-term developmental trajectories. Future research should also prioritize culturally responsive and interdisciplinary approaches. In conclusion, emotional regulation is a foundational developmental skill that significantly impacts academic achievement, social functioning, and mental health in children with autism spectrum disorder. Applied behavior analysis provides a structured, measurable, and ethical framework for understanding and treating emotional dysregulation. Through functional assessment, communication training, reinforcement strategies, environmental support, and caregiver collaboration, meaningful improvement can be achieved. Continued research and evidence-based practice will further enhance quality of life for children with ASD and their families. Thank you so much.